Welcome to the Voice of Bold Business Radio, the show about ways to stay competitive in a changing market, break through business plateaus, and respond to the changing expectations of today's customers. Your host, Jess Dewell, is a rapid growth entrepreneur, consultant, and business advocate with a 20-year track record of business excellence. She candidly discusses how to achieve your growth strategy and realize your company's unfulfilled potential. Now, here's Jess.
Everybody, hello, welcome to our program today. This is the Voice of Bold Business in a different style. This is my recording studio. It's freshly clayed, and we have a new setup, and Andy was like, let's be in the same space when we record today.
It's so much better to be one in person.
It really is. Yeah, we do our best, and the fact that you happen to live close and I live close helps, being around the greater Boulder area. We could like spend the whole hour and totally just make fun of being in Boulder.
Yes, we could. Easily.
We totally could. No, we won't, because
I've been banned for doing that.
You have been?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I fit right in, but I will totally make fun of myself all day long, Andy. Deal. Okay. So you're not banned here.
Okay.
And in fact, there would be people listening to our program that would be like, what are you talking about?
I know, Boulder's the best.
And then there are other people that are like, you're all spot on. And everybody's right.
They are.
I mean, that's kind of the thing we're thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. I don't, I have my issues with Boulder, as everybody does, I'm sure, in their own way. But it's no judgment.
And that's the way we get through everything. Right. So we're going to do our quick intro, and then I'm going to introduce you, and then everybody will know who you are in addition to your voice and your picture here. Yeah. You're in the right place for conversations about current needs that we as business leaders face regarding technology, customer expectations, and quickly changing markets. This program is about what it means to reach our short-term goals and increase our confidence in our long-term positioning. This is program 201. We've crossed the 200 mark.
Awesome.
And we titled this program, Work to Live. When you look at our actions, what do you prioritize? Wait, did I actually just use you and we in the same sentence? I think I did. I'm gonna try that one again, because that was very confusing to me anyway. When you look at your actions, what do you prioritize? Because what you prioritize is what you value. And today we're talking with Andy. Andy Zicklin is the founder of Zicklin Management Group and Bold Funding Group. He started in radio. By the way, he has great pictures online of his radio studio, which looks very different than this. He's practiced and taught hypnotherapy, and then he was a wealth advisor and led groups at Smith & Barney and Deutsche Bank. He now lives and travels internationally and rides his motorcycle around the country, photographing small towns in abandoned America. And I want to start right there, because when I first saw you at an event and we met, I'm like, I got to know more about this guy. And I went looking online. You know how you search online? All I could find was you on your motorcycle and pictures.
That's pretty much that's it.
Yeah.
Just me on the motorcycle and pictures.
Which is great online. So there's not a lot about the other stuff that you do, which shows a lot.
Well, and if you did Andy Zicklin versus Andrew Zicklin.
Oh.
So it's
names matter.
Names matter.
Then everybody who's listening to this, you're going to search Andrew when you want to know what he does professionally.
Right.
And Andy when you want to see him on his motorcycle traversing across America, taking these amazing pictures.
Yep. And also my radio stuff is all under Andy.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah. Andy versus Andrew.
Excuse me.
It's all good. Well, and you're very avid. You are I got to just tell you this.
Okay.
Every time I've been practicing and preparing for this, I have the word live in front of our show name in all of my notes. So I was live, work to live. What are you talking about? And it's the joy of words.
Work to live, work for live.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, I want to just jump in though, because when we're talking about work to live versus living to work, we're in a paradigm shift. We've been talking about this now for probably my whole life. starting to shift and work away from not just working all the way to retirement.
Right.
But we're still in that point of change, which makes me think two things. One, we don't know how still. And two, it's a pipe dream. And three, you are living this. So how did you decide, and when did you decide that it was really important to make that shift for you?
I think, and to go back to answer your earlier comment, I think the younger generation is much more attuned to that work to live to work, work to live, work to live. I was getting confused. And there's groups. A friend of mine was on a group trip, traveling around the world, working in each country, and it's a 1-year trip, and she was in a different country, all through the year. So I think that the younger generation gets it more. I started, as you said, I started my career in radio. I'm sort of an accidental entrepreneur. I started my career in radio, and then I became a hypnotherapist. So I was always doing something. I didn't do college, MBA, business school, blah, 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 blah. I didn't do that track anyway. So when I realized that in 95, when I got my job at Smith Barney, which I hated working in the industry. I was good enough where it was worth it to do, I guess, for a time. But come around 2008, 2009, the markets, I had no business basically. And I was like, man, how do I make this work for me again? When the money was there, I could sort of focus on that and not really worry about everything else. So we moved to Barcelona in 2010, moved the family there for a year, and saw the culture there. And everybody talks about productivity and all all that, but it was like this eye-opening, life-changing cultural time. And I was like, oh man, there's got to be a better way. So when I started, I was looking to transition out of being an investment advisor, and I was like, okay, here's what I want. I want something that's mobile, that I can do from anywhere, so I can travel. And I wanted something with recurring revenue. And my business is now not really recurring, but there's definite payoffs at the end. So I'll take that. It's still feast and famine, but it's this year should be sort of the change. I've been doing Zicklin management for 4.5 years, and Bold funding for just a year.
Feast or famine. I think though, as a business owner and as a leader in business, that's something that we all have to work with and accept, is that there are cycles, and maybe they're self-imposed cycles, right? When we work, then we get business, and then we take a break, and then we have no business. And so we've got that. That is a typical thing that I see happen with agencies. Now, when we have a product and we have services that have that ongoing, that concept of that recurring revenue, then we have the ability to actually go, oh, okay, got it. But being able to transfer from one to the other is very interesting. And that's a space that I see a lot of people, and you alluded, you're close, it sounds like.
Yeah. And it's a struggle. It's like that. We all learn the McDonald's franchise story, right? Where you have to make everything repeatable. And they talked about that when we were in training at the stock brokerage. It's like, do the same things every day at the same time, and time manage, and 1 hour for calls, 1 hour for answering. Nobody can do that.
Right.
No, I don't. I've not met anybody that can actually do that. So
well,
maybe there's people out there that can, but. Well,
I have, but I don't think they're very happy.
Right.
Right. And then there's my friend, Susan Finch. This is a shout out to Susan, who time management is everything. And in fact, she puts in her calendar time for spontaneity. And I love that, because when you're so full and you choose to have actions like that, at least you have a place where there's space,
right,
besides the shower, to come up with good ideas.
And that's the I think sort of the dichotomy in this whole business model that we've built, where that's what everybody's taught to do, whether it's like the 7 different ways of learning in school.
Yeah.
Right. That's not the only way to do business. And for people that are more either creative or artistic in a straight and narrow business model, that's I think a big issue.
Yeah. I also think it comes down to what we value. So when you went overseas and you saw, working for Deutsche Bank, and you saw how they lived.
I didn't work for
you didn't?
Deutsche Bank, the international bank, told me that they didn't want me to go.
Oh.
So I quit.
So you quit and then
went independent then went. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification. We want to be totally clear about that. Yeah. So you ended up living over in Europe.
Right.
And when you were there and you saw this difference in lifestyle, was it really a difference in lifestyle? Was it more about priorities? They prioritize different things. They value different things.
Yeah. I mean, here's the flow of the day. And we were in Barcelona, if I didn't mention that before. Breakfast in the morning, go to work, 1 o'clock siesta, 2 o'clock lunch, back to work at 4, the afternoon coffee break, and then after work aperitifs and tapas, and then dinner.
Yeah.
And so the whole, and it's frustrating for expats when they go there, and I have friends that are, in business there and they work for big companies, and it's like, we can't get anybody to do anything. And then they're gone all of August.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was like, you don't have to finish your list every day. You don't have, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. And I think we put expectations on ourselves that are crazy. Mm-hmm. Along with that, and an aside, I think I told you the story, when we went to get our health insurance, which, by the way, for a family of 5 was 2,800 euros for the year.
What?
Yeah.
For the year?
For the year.
Holy cow.
The agent asked how much we drank. What was our, the American answer is 3 to 5, right? She said 35. Like, no, maybe translation 3 to 5. She goes, no, 35. And then proceeded to explain why 35 drinks a week. It's fine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they live longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's something to be said for just a little bit more of a relaxed attitude.
Yes.
Yeah. And so when we are buried, right? When we are buried, let me say this differently. When did you find out it was really important to have a hobby outside of your work? Because a lot of people make their hobbies around their work.
Yeah. For me, it was, I'd always been interested in music. And when I lived in LA, I was very much compartmentalized because I had to work in the stock market, work in the office. And then I had to play golf with clients. And then I'd have other friends that I would find to go out with, but I was always pigeonholed as the finance guy, right? Mm-hmm. Among the groups.
Yeah.
And so that was soul killing. And one of the things that happened when I left was that I could get back in touch with sort of the artist inside, that I had been doing before the 15 years in the business. And so when I was in Barcelona, I picked up a camera and started shooting. And I was like, oh man, and it's very easy to pick up a camera and shoot there because it's beautiful, And then when I came back so I wanted to have time to do those things. Yeah. And I'm not a big believer in, this work-life balance thing. I think you got to just go whole hog. And if it's because it becomes compartmentalization again. Yeah. It's like I have my hobby, I have my work, and I have those people and those people.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing.
Isn't that interesting? Because I don't believe in work-life balance either. In fact, anybody who says that, it makes me cringe because you're striving for the grass is always greener. You're striving for the gold at the end of the rainbow. And it's always just elusive. So I'm more like a tetherball. I am all in on something. And then I'm like, oh, other stuff is lacking. And then all of a sudden, whoop, I hit that pole in the middle and then I unwind back out and I'm doing something different.
Yep.
And so for me, it's very similar. I'm all in all the time, and splitting that time can be very difficult. And
when you split it, just like, if you have a number line as an analogy, if you're always balancing, you're always living in the middle, and you never get to experience going off the edge one way or the other.
Ooh. Are you saying you're searching for work-life balance is actually searching for mediocrity?
No, because no, that's not, no, I'm not saying that.
I'm just curious. Well, I'm just curious. I'm thinking that's where my mind went.
It's accepting, Charles Bukowski has a very, very tough paragraph on that about going all the way. And if you're going to do something, go all the way.
Yeah.
And he talks about losing his wife and his girlfriend and sleeping on a park bench and being arrested and everything for your art, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to give up your family and just, become a crazed artist, or maybe you are, I don't know, but
no judgment.
Yeah, no judgment. And I strive for that with, but I can't, but it cuts off some of the edges. It's like, you can't fully, for me, it's like, I can't fully do that. Like Dali or Picasso, right? They're just like, that's who they were, and they didn't care, and they were able to make a living at it and all that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting another dichotomy in that giving up those edges and that sort of like that soaring for your family,
right,
for choices. It's all choices,
right? Okay, so there's still a range in there of go all the way to the edge and look, but you don't have to go over, because you are taking into account other things that you've taken on in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
And keeping exactly
that you want in your life.
That you want. And I think that's a big key piece too. Tetherball.
Exactly.
No mediocrity, tetherball. Yeah. That's really that's cool. I don't know. Squash also comes to mind, but I don't know anything about the game or the rules or anything. So I can't really.
Then why did it come?
I have no idea.
You just like the word.
I think I do like the word, a squash. Has so many different meanings, Andy, I'm telling you. All right. When we, so if you think about the value of what you're prioritizing, what you value, and you're saying my creative side has value, and that means you're modeling that for your family, for your kids, for your colleagues. Do you ever get pushback being around, back in the US for as many years as you've been, knowing that you're prioritizing something that's different from a lot of people?
I don't get pushback so much because I don't tell people this so much. It's
okay.
It's I don't really meet my clients all that much. A lot of it's over the phone and emails and stuff. So the people that are in my life, they may not know what I do. I'm not sure I know yet still. And so, but when I go to a meeting, if I sit down and my arm, I'm rolled up and they can see my tat, that's who I am. And if they don't want to work with me because of that, I don't care anymore,
Yeah. Is that an age thing, that I don't care anymore?
It might be. It might be an attitude and an age thing.
But is it
I know, because, before when I started as a stockbroker when I was 35, so I was older anyway,
right.
But you're still buying into that model.
Yeah, right. So when somebody, now we're going to talk generationally again.
Okay.
Because when you say, so what? Then the reason I started, is it an age thing, is because one, we have experience, and at some point I'm so true to myself and I know who I am. I understand what's in and out. Right. I look at 20-year-olds and I look at 30-year-olds and I look at some of my peers, and I see people who are like, I am who I am, so there. And it actually gets in the way, and it becomes an excuse for not learning. It becomes an excuse for not connecting. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah.
Where that inflection point is?
I think it's if you come in with a chip on your shoulder or an attitude, then no matter who you are, what you believe, it's going to get in the way.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think that it's, I was just reminded of a story that flitted in and out, and I'll remember it later.
Okay.
But it's really, you want to be doing your business. You want to be growing your business. You just want to do it in a way that you don't get stuck worrying about growing your business all the time without taking time to say, oh, I want to grow my business. I want to be big, but for what? Do I want to make $1, $5, $10, $20 million? Do I want to have a big house? Or if you're not money motivated, if that doesn't matter to you, you're doing it to be productive. You're doing it for other reasons. Yeah. You still want to do it, and you don't want to do it. You don't want to piss people off. Right. But you also want to be true to yourself and say, if I don't get you if we don't connect and beyond we got to connect in sales and all that kind of stuff. Right. But if you don't like something about me, if you don't want to do business with me because of who I am, more power to you. More power to you.
And I feel the same way, right? That's exactly right. Show up, be present, and then let the pieces fall where they may.
Right.
Connection can happen or not.
Yeah. And you can't worry, it's all a numbers game in sales and marketing.
It is.
And you just go to the next person and it's like, oh, what could have I done? You ask yourself what you could have done, but then you realize nothing.
Yeah. So reflection is important, but also being able to recognize I've done all I could and let it go versus, oh, maybe I did show up with some attitude and be able to check in with that.
Right. And it's also, and there's a difference between looking back on a business level and saying, okay, were my sales techniques off, or was I not connect? Whatever those were, different from the interpersonal part.
Right. And they're totally different skills. One is something you can look at. Here are the steps. What did I miss? What could I do more? Where could I spend more time? And the other really is, oh man, you used the word soul earlier, and self-development, that interpersonal stuff starts with us. And it's hard work all the time, and it's worth it.
Yep.
It's worth it when we're willing to look.
When in 2008, when the market was crashing and I was sitting in my office using all the therapist skills that I had, my assistant looked into the office one day and said, I don't know how every day for 8 hours, you're walking people off the edge. She goes, I couldn't do that.
Right.
And it's knowing what, you're not trying to make a sale at that point. You just want to make connection with people and help them understand that it's okay. It's not going to zero,
exactly.
Or whatever the.
Right. Yeah, totally true. It's time for us to take a short break. I'm going to check in with Scott because of the way our setup is. I got nothing when it comes to what's happening out there online. So I'm relying on Scott and Eva to clue us in right about now.
So, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Terrific. Well, Eva's related a couple of things to me to tell you. First of all, Rebecca Davidson is watching, and she says hi to both of you, two of my favorite people.
Yay,
So
Rebecca.
a shout out to Rebecca.
Hi, woohoo.
And then secondly, we have a question from Lily. We spend so much of our time working. We are defined by what we do. It seems difficult to make that first step and do something different. How to make that step if we're tied to one place, not traveling, one specific area of expertise?
That's a great question.
Yeah. Thank you, Lily.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's looking at who you are, and I don't want to get too, new agey and bouldery, but it's let's say you're a salesperson or a IT person or an engineer, and and here we have this it's the third question. Hi, what's your name? What do you do?
Yeah.
And I think getting beyond once, it's like, don't ask people what they do.
Right.
Just don't. Ask them what they do for fun. Ask them what they think about, the museum exhibit or whatever, anything other than what do you do? And I think that first little step changes the focus and changes who you are is what you are, or what you do is what you are.
Right.
And I know and I took a giant leap by quitting Deutsche Bank, going independent, taking whatever clients I could, because that was my salary for the next year. The market just kind of crushed us. And so we actually moved because it was cheaper to live there than in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And so it was a big comeuppance and open the door to stop compartmentalizing and stop saying, oh, we're this person for these people and that person for those people.
Yeah. Who are we for us?
Yeah.
I heard the question differently. And so what came up for me was, well, if I can't travel because of whatever reason I can't travel, my obligations keep me close to home, my personal fears and where I might be might keep me close to home, then what do I do? That was how I read the question. So I love your answer because it was totally different than what I heard. And so now we've got the spectrum. And Lily, if you're still listening, use #VBB radio, and Eva will bring this back in for more. And so I was like, yeah.
But your answer was not different. It's.
Oh, but I didn't finish my answer. I just noticed.
Okay. But
my answer is, well, I'm going to jump in and try something new. Maybe I'll learn to paint. Maybe I'll learn to bake. Maybe I like to bake, but I don't like to follow instructions. And so I tear up every recipe that I have and I try and do something different. Can I make it vegan? Can I make it vegetarian? Can I make it paleo? Because I can, not because I think it'll be good, but I just want to see, right?
Because you want to.
Because I want to.
Yeah.
I like that. Isn't that? So I think, is that the same?
It's the same.
You think it's the same?
Yeah. And then when people say, when they, what's your name? Nice to meet you. What do you do? Oh, I'm working on this really cool thing at home right now. I mean, I have a job, but I'm working on this really cool thing at home that I'd much rather talk about.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you. Yeah. Exactly. And I take people on the radio show and people in my life, they know I love being a mother. I love being a Girl Scout leader. I love doing business. And I don't know if it's always in that order, but those, I like being a wife. I like having a house. I like those things because I have something that I can really invest and create to what I value.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always align with my risk. Does that make sense? My risk tolerance. Like sometimes it's too tame. What I do sometimes seems too tame for my risk tolerance. And I'm laughing because I'm like, well, when we do things and we're comfortable, do we actually look at how risky it is for us? Right? And in business, when we're seeing something or we're looking at that shiny object syndrome, for example, or something that really caught our eye, do we look and see what the opposite side is, that the risk side of it? What are we not getting? What might be we leaving on the, wow, what might we be leaving on the table? There we go. That was a lot of weird words, I guess. What are your thoughts around that?
For me, I don't want to say my whole life is taking risks because that's
mine is actually, and it is. I think you can say that.
Really?
I think you can. We all take risks. Everything that we do.
We do. I mean, I got a job at Smith Barney. I never graduated college. Yeah. I worked at Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank. Never graduated college.
Right.
And so I don't think I've taken a paycheck, if we're talking business side of it, since 1986.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So that is all risky, but it's also part of my, like I said, the reluctant entrepreneur, right?
Yeah. Oh wait, you said accidental the first time.
Oh yeah, reluctant too. Both accidental and reluctant. It's all those things.
Yeah.
I actually want to do a whole thing. I think I told you about like being the worst entrepreneur in the world. I think I could take that mantle. But in terms of making yourself, for me to go, I bought my motorcycle. I used to ride when I was, younger. But when I came back to the States, I was like, oh man, I got this travel bug now. I got this wanderlust. How do I work it in with what I'm doing as I'm transitioning to new business and starting out, all that kind of stuff. But also, so I bought this motorcycle. It showed up. It was like this old Moto Guzzi, if you're all motorcycle people out there. And I bought it. And a week later, I left on my first cross-country journey. I knew nothing. I didn't know what I didn't know. I joked that if I wanted a bike that if it broke down somewhere, nobody could fix it. Right. It's just like, I'd have to fly home or something. But I didn't know anything, I don't know much about photography technically wise, but I just go and shoot and it's fun.
Yeah. Scott, I want to check in with you. Was that the only question at this time? Was there another one you wanted to squeeze in?
No, we've got another one from Jackson. Would Andrew like to share some self-reflection exercises, something that he does to help him stay away from the workaholic way of life?
Oh, Jackson.
We have a how-to audience.
Yeah. I think it's part of my makeup. Yeah. I don't do a lot. Like when I'm on I don't meditate and I'm lazy. I'm a slacker.
Are you?
I am totally a slacker. And so I want to make my business successful, but not to the point where I don't need all the money in the world. And I don't need, you've got all your awards. Good for you.
Oh, thank you. I know those are not even all of them, but people told me I should put them out. So I stuck them on the highest shelf so I don't see them.
So that's not, it depends on what's important to you and strive for that. If it's important to you to work hard and do that, man, I wish I could a little bit more. I have friends, I'm not done answering your question, but I have friends that are, that are ex-addicts and stuff like that. And I see them and they're running 50 miles and they're doing all this really stuff. And they've just, they've changed their bad habit for a better habit.
Right.
And I wish I had that drive, but for me, it's just who I am more than self-reflection, more than any to-do thing. You just have to decide how much is enough and cut back where you can. if your bosses are, if you're in a startup or you're working and they're working you 20 hours a week, I don't know if there's any way out of that other than finding something else. But for yourself in your own time, give yourself a chance to breathe. And I know we all hike and bike and ride and climb here, but do something outside of that, because that becomes, for a lot of people, that becomes as workaholic.
Yes.
I mean, people were out there 6 a.m. jogging in that storm yesterday.
I believe it. Oh yeah. So we got 4 inches of snow here, at least. And the closer you got to Denver, the more crazy it became. And I have to tell, yes, there were people outside with their little headlamps on. Nobody had shoveled anything yet. Yeah. And they're out there going through. That's so true. And so, yeah, what are you trading it for? The word consistent comes to mind for me, in the sense of whatever you're reflecting on or evaluating, just do it on a regular basis. Have something, and maybe even find out, what is my regular basis? And if you like to write it down. I thought about leaving my job today. I thought about hiring my first employee. I thought about separating out a department that needs to be separated out from another department to continue to that growth. I thought about getting a dog, whatever the thing is. And the more that it comes up, if we just noticed those and wrote those down, what would that look like? Because I'm guessing you don't meditate. You probably don't journal either.
Yeah, not too much.
I don't journal very much, but I do note things. And I notice my sticky notes as I go through. I put dates on you can't see them. They're all underneath the pile on my desk. But I will date them with the stuff on them so that I can keep track over time. I'm like, what have I been thinking about? Isn't that crazy to think? What have I been thinking about?
No, I mean, it goes, I do that with art projects.
Yeah.
Right. Because I have 3 books that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And a big project on a series of photographs. And then business wise, I have, this year's being laid out. Right.
Yeah.
But you've worked in corporate, you've been run businesses before.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you, when you were in the middle of it all, because you did it much more than I did, how did you handle that workaholic stage? Or did you just accept it?
There's a part of me that was raised to believe the harder I worked, the more results I would get. And everything in my life has told me opposite, and I ignored everything in my life for a very long time. When I finally said, well, what if this thing that is actually showing me the truth is actually the truth? What if I thought about that? My whole world changed. I mean, my first business, we were growing so fast. Who knows what a growth strategy was? It was hold on tight and direct the best that you can, right? But then we got to this point where we had to figure out, well, how do we grow that much again? So in our first 2 years, we did X. So how do we do Y, right? Double in size again in the next 2 years. Now you have to really start thinking about that. And so I tried all kinds. Yeah, go ahead.
Why was that important?
It wasn't important to me. Okay. It was the mandate I gave after we were purchased.
Got it.
Right. So going, yeah, I'm going to play on this team. So it's important to me because I'm going to play on this team, and I got to figure this out because I'm 21 years old and what am I doing? And so there was a lot of failure in all of that. But the growth strategy that came out of it was figuring out what we did really well and what we did different than everybody else, and making sure, knowing that every week I would sit down, and it wasn't for very long. I do it for longer now. I would sit down and be like, well, this is where we're going. Here's where we're at. These are the things that I see. And here are our potential threats and opportunities, right? Very businesslike. Right. And now it's much more second nature to me. And I do it with every part of my life. I do it as a mother. Here's where I am as a mother. Here's where I want to be as a mother, a Girl Scout leader, a wife, a business owner, working with clients every single time. Before I sit down with a client, where were they? Where did they tell me they were going? I know how to show up in the conversation so that we can continue to go down the path that they want to go down and be real clear. And like you saying, I am totally, I'm okay with who I am. And if you don't want to do business with me, with who I am, okay. I call out every elephant in the room. Sometimes it's tactless, but it's always with good intention. Yeah. So did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Tactless with good intention, those elephants.
There you go. Did that answer your question, Jackson?
Yeah, exactly. Keep us posted on that.
Yeah.
We're going to pause really quick for a break. Okay. And then it's going to be like 30 seconds or less. And then we'll be right back. Thanks, Scott.
You're listening to the voice of Bold Business Radio. In every program, we share stories, tips, and concepts that benefit short-term goals and increase confidence in long-term positioning. Stay current and receive programs to continue sparking ideas about growth strategy by subscribing to the program at voiceofboldbusiness.com. Now, back to Jess.
Cheers, everybody. Hashtag VBB Radio. You're watching us live on Facebook. You're watching us live on YouTube. You might be catching us after the fact. Welcome. Welcome to this cool new setup. So if you're ever in the Boulder area and you want to be on the show or you're scheduled to be on the show, probably should do that first. We're scheduled out till April right now. And, come to my recording studio like Andy is, and we're just going to hang out. We'll have some coffee and see what happens. We are working to live. Working to live. So how many hours do you actually work in a week? I'm just curious. We're going to put this into Americanized terms of drive for a few minutes.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I don't know because I could be sending emails at 9:00 at night.
Right.
If I'm doing something else during the day, I really can't quantify it.
I can tell you I'm working every single moment I'm awake. And when I'm sleeping, my dreams are also. But my work is the things that I want to do and I prioritize.
Well, you said business-wise.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I totally didn't mean that. Does that change things?
Well, yeah, then my answer is much like yours. I'm always thinking about the next thing and planning, not planning, thinking about the next thing and strategizing in my head about what I want to do next and where I'm going next and how to do that.
Do you know how you so for me, for example, what I mean by that is for me, I get an idea or I hear an idea or I'm given an idea and I'm like, that's it. And then all of my resources and energy go into that. And then I'm like, is this a good idea now that I've started? So I act and then I plan. Yeah. Are you similar? Are you different?
I probably act, and not to make it a joke or anything. I don't know how much thought I put into stuff in terms of planning and creating a plan. I think as I'm doing it, it's I'm very reactive. I guess is the best answer.
Yeah. Do you see the end goal as you're taking each action?
Oh yeah.
Like what you're moving towards?
Yeah. I mean, that I have because I know where I want to get to.
Yep.
It's just.
So you act and then you vision.
Right. And then getting there is the fun part.
Yeah.
It's not the end result.
No.
It's the fun part is doing it.
Yeah. And so I'm going to totally call you out, Teresa Jo. This is my sister. She has a plan for everything. Not only does she have a plan for everything, she has a B and a C, and sometimes I go to L and M, and sometimes I go to R and S. And I'm like, how are you going to remember all that? Me, I make a plan and go, these are the places it's probably going to change.
Yep.
And I'm ready for it because I recognize there's probably going to be change there, so I can embrace it and jump in. How about you? When you talk about being in that journey.
Yeah. So when I'm on my motorcycle trips, I don't have an itinerary.
Yeah.
I stay off the major highways as part of my rules.
He has rules, everybody.
I have
rules
for motorcycle trips. But I mean, I've run out of gas. I haven't had flat tires or any accidents or anything. But I have run out of gas and, and hopefully every time I've had a problem on the bike, though, somebody stopped and like within 10 minutes and said, hey, what's going on? Do you need help? So, it's great. It's the fun part. My wife was very, get there, right. Plan the trip and get there. And so we call it the flat tire syndrome because we were coming home from California and we got a flat tire outside of Reno, Nevada, somewhere, Carson City or something. And we ended up having to stay there the next night and found this great little place. And, it was spontaneous and fun and would have never happened if we were trying to get home.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I like that. The flat tire syndrome. And that's why I'm like, where I'm in all those concepts of here are the places that we might derail. Here are the places that an obstacle might come up. Here's a place that something else is going to show up that's supposed to be there.
Hopefully.
Well, maybe not on our time schedule.
Right.
But it does, right?
That's the journey.
The thing. That's the journey.
You're going to look to get existential. We're all going to die, right? We're all going to die at some point.
Yeah.
And part of being on this earth is choosing to live a life that is meaningful for ourselves.
Yeah.
I think some people it's not. Some people don't care.
So I'm going to challenge the audience to really sit in some reflection and find out, are they living to work or are they working to live? And your answer is going to guide them. Okay. So how would you say, how do I look at what I'm doing and decide, like, weigh it out? Am I working or am I living?
Are you, I guess the best answer is, are there things you want to do with your life that are, that you're not doing? And are there things that, in your quiet moments, do you wish you could do differently? Mm-hmm. That's how you decide. I think for me, that's how it was.
Perfect. And then what are the resources and other books and whatever else, podcasts, what conversations do you think would be helpful to be able to develop the awareness to continue to make that something that becomes part of who we are?
That's a good question. I don't read a lot of self-help books or awareness type books. Mm-hmm. There's, if I could, when I first started, there's, I don't know, read Bukowski, listen to Tom Waits, mm-hmm. Read John Fonte, Steinbeck, mm-hmm. Hemingway. Read those books, because those are the ones that you're going to connect, and those artists are the ones that are going to connect to your soul and to kind of, it's like, I don't want to be, that, but there's something about, there's an aspect of it. Yeah. How do I connect with that? How do I become more real for myself?
Awesome. Thank you. We have time for one more question. So checking in with you, Scott. Anything else coming in this direction?
Sure. We do. It's from Andrew. What's the difference between being a workaholic and being all in all the time?
That's a good question.
I like it.
I think part of it is your own personal work ethic or your own personal sort of makeup in that sense. Could be the same, could be totally different. But for me, it's if you're a workaholic, that means that you're denying other parts of your lives. Like you're working 20 hours a day, you have a wife and kids that never see you. That to me is a workaholic. Mm-hmm. All in is being passionate about something, and that is who you are. But somebody who's all in can take time away and not have the, like my dad, I guess, is a perfect example of somebody who's all in. He worked in the stock market, and he still wakes up at 4 a.m. to get on front of the computer, and he loves it. It's his passion, but he's done it one. And then after that, he coached our baseball teams and coached, and gave us our family life. I think that's the difference.
Present. I'm hearing the word present, and that's right. What comes up for me is the concept of, am I present? I'm all in when I am present. And every part of my being is in that, not thinking about my next meeting, not thinking about the next email, not thinking about the next obligation that I have at home or work or volunteer or whatever it is. Yep. To me, that's the difference between all in and workaholic. That's all I'm thinking about.
Right.
I'm here now, but I got to plan for what's next while I'm here now. Not present.
And never ending. It's
exactly. Yeah. Ooh, I like that. And never ending. Yeah. So what makes it bold? What makes it bold to actually go out, do your own thing, and work, obviously, because we want to contribute, but to actually live?
I think it's priorities. I think, we're so focused on, I don't know, either accolades, or we all want to be, recognized for what we do. Mm. But I think that it's not caring about the car you drive. I mean, here it's not so much cars, it's more what bike you have or what skis you have, how many sets of skis you have,
how many miles can you hike, how many miles right. Can you bike, how many, yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's getting beyond that and being really just happy with what you have and being able to do the things you want to do with the money that you make. I was in Cuba in 2009 and they were, they had nothing. I mean, but they were the happiest and family, strong unit. It was amazing. It was a great wake-up call at that time. But I think that it's not buying into the American, it's not buying into the American dream, that stereotypical dream.
I thought you were going to say the word drama when you paused. I was like, well, that way to bring it home, Andy. But it's true. The American dream has a great foundation, has fabulous concepts of making our lives better. The thing is, the American dream was not making the lives better for ourselves. It was making the lives better for those who came after us, for our children and our children's children. And
we're our grandparents, immigrant grandparents.
Exactly.
We were their dream.
Yes, we've achieved their dream.
Yeah.
And now it's up to us to go, are we going to continue that and think about our great-grandchildren yet to come? Or are we going to change the way, help evolve our communities, help evolve our own presence so that we can make those greater changes, because we live in a place now that we have that.
You're so much more thoughtful than I am.
Well, I don't think about it a whole lot, but when it comes out, it comes out. But it is. So thank you for saying that. I will say thank you. I think about other things that make that possible. Oh, that is so great. What's one of your personal values that you want to share?
Personal values.
Yeah. If you were to identify and articulate one.
Oh man. I don't know, being a good person.
Yeah.
It's like being helpful. I'm helpful. I'm a helpful person. Right. And if somebody needs my help, I'll help them. And I think that for me, that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, and that drives what you do, not only in your living, but it also drives what you've chosen to do in your profession.
Yeah. And so it's true. And one of the big project that I'm doing for the art stuff is I'm, along with taking pictures of all these old towns and everything, I've been stopping and taking pictures of all the roadside crosses that I've come across. And I'm sitting there on the side of the road, taking a photograph, hoping that a car doesn't hit me and I become across on the side of the road. But part of it was like to do this big installation with all these pictures and having people write about how they are affected by that and how it, to look at it and say, I know it's like Gothic and all that, but to look and say, what's stopping me from, these people died and we don't know their story. We know that somebody cared enough to put a cross in the middle of nowhere. What is it? What's stopping me from doing my own, like from living my dreams and doing my truth? Because these people can't.
You heard it here. This is the voice of Bold Business Radio. You're going to find all the program notes later today at voiceofboldbusiness.com/P201. That is voiceofboldbusiness.com/P for program 201. You can also search the site for Work to Live. And I think we use Andy, but we may have to change that to Andrew Zicklin so that we can show up in his professional side as well as his his artistic side of the internet searches out there in the world. All right. Rate this program. You listen to us have this conversation. You understand now. I understand now. I want to keep talking about this now. All of the things that go into living, all of the things that go into how do we prioritize, what do we prioritize, and really making sure that there's a sense of heart and head and gut involved is what I took away from this. Okay, I already said rate. So Facebook, give us a like. Give us a thumbs up. Go to the website. Give us as many stars as you think. We like 5. Go to YouTube. Leave us a comment. On any platform, iTunes, everywhere, use hashtag VBB Radio because it's our conversations here that continue beyond these 50-minute segments that define what it means to be a leader today, to really live, to really evoke change. And I'm going to leave you with this question. How do you pursue inspiration so that you can work to live?
The voice of Bold Business Radio gives you insights about how to achieve your company's growth strategy. Use hashtag BBBRadio or email us at radio@reddirection.com to ask questions and share your experiences. Add your voice to the conversation. Together, we define what being an effective leader means today. Special thanks to the Scott Treatment for technical production. Thank you for joining us.